Welcome to Adam's Athenaeum. Let's take a look together through the news and records of our times as we try to shed light upon the unvarnished truth. Thanks for coming back today to listen to this episode about communism, an introduction. Okay, so this is the video in the second of three in a short trilogy of which I will be covering socialism, communism, and Marxism, each in an introductory fashion and trying to explain my thoughts and opinions on each as to how these ideologies have permeated through American society. As a reminder, I'm no history major or anything too cool or smart. I'm just a guy on the internet using as many resources as I can to find out the truth. Seeing as I mentioned COVID in this video, let's also add that I'm no doctor, I'm not giving medical advice or opinions, and you should consult with your own doctor or trusted doctors to see what is best for you and your health. Communism, or the individual term of communist, makes many Americans think of bad forms of government that have always led to the deaths of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people. Many people think of radicalized characters we have seen portray communism in shows or movies. But what is communism? Let's begin by defining it. According to Merriam-Webster's, the essential meaning of communism is a way of organizing a society in which the government owns the things that are used to make and transport products, such as land, oil, factories, ships, etc., and there is no privately owned property. The full definition of communism: it is a system in which goods are owned in common and are available to all as needed. A theory advocating elimination of private property. A doctrine based on revolutionary Marxian socialism and Marxism-Leninism that was the official ideology of the USSR. A totalitarian system of government in which a single authoritarian party controls state-owned means of production. A final stage of society and Marxist theory in which the state has withered away and economic goods are distributed equitably. Communist systems collectively. So what can we learn from the definition of communism? First, it says that the government owns everything, and you will own nothing, and you'll be happy about it. After all, the communist dictators don't allow dissent. Second, we can read that goods are owned in common and are available to all as needed. Have you ever seen a mob of hungry people as a food truck arrives? How about dehydrated families when the water truck shows up? There's chaos, corruption, and violence. You mean to tell me that I'll get the same amount of food and water as the president, as the mayors and governors in that situation? Third, it says a totalitarian system of government. According to Merriam-Webster's, totalitarian means of or relating to centralized control by an autocratic leader or hierarchy. Of or relating to a political regime based on subordination of the individual to the state and strict control of all aspects of the life and productive capacity of the nation, especially by coercive measures such as censorship and terrorism. Advocating or characteristic of totalitarianism. Completely regulated by the state, especially as an aid to national mobilization in an emergency. Exercising autocratic powers. So from this definition, we once again see that the government wants to grow bigger, seize more power, and strip away every right and freedom you have until you live under their boot. Finally, we learn that goods are distributed equitably, or so the story goes. Equity, according to modern politics, means your race and how you're broken down into categories of human. So if you're a white person in this world, you will lose everything. If you're a minority, or I should say, the right minority, you will gain everything. It's funny how Joe Biden wants to give illegal immigrants who do not have proof of vaccination or immunization status, nor are they required to get the COVID vaccine. He wants to give them $450,000 per person, or approximately $1 million per family. Guess where that money comes from? It comes from your paycheck, from your hard hours worked, from your overtime that you put in, and by taxation. Now that we've defined communism, let's explore its history a little bit. Since the early 1900s to now, communism has led to the recorded deaths of at least 115 million people. That's about half of the population in America. And that's just the deaths that we know about. For example, in Mao's communist China, at least 45 million people were killed. Some sources say upward of 60 million people were killed. In the communist USSR territories, Lenin and Stalin starved and murdered nearly 50 million people. And in communist Cambodia, under the regime of Pol Pot, at least 2 million people had been starved and murdered, which was the equivalent of 1/4 of their total population of Cambodia at the time. I'm not here to make communism look pretty, or to try to encourage this fallacy of an ideology. I'm here to show you, in my opinion, why it is wrong for American society, and why it has never worked and never will work. If you have listened to or read any of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels', whether it be through their written work entitled The Communist Manifesto or their other individual works, then you will probably recognize that all summed up, their works break down the world into oppressors and the oppressed. These men created the system in which you will become judged by your race, creed, religion, beliefs, your property, and even where you stand in society. These are intellectually very smart men, but also invalid in today's society, at least in America. Today's social justice movement and the far left's progressive policies mirror this Marxist ideology. We will touch on that more in the next episode, but communism and Marxism are pretty similar, so I wanted to mention it here as well. In my last episode called Socialism, an Introduction, we talked about countries where socialism had been tried, so let's do the same for communism. Here is a non-exhaustive list of the countries where communism has failed. We've got Russia, China, Cuba, Laos, North Korea, Vietnam, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Estonia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Cambodia, Mongolia, Yemen, Czech Republic, Germany, East Germany, Hungary, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Albania, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, the Republic of Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia and Slovenia, Angola, Benin, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea, and Mozambique. Holy cow, that was a lot of countries. Even more countries have tried communism and failed than have tried socialism and failed. Let's see if we can find any countries where communism has been successful. The current communist leaders of the world, according to thoughtco.com, are Cuba, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, and China. Let's take a look at news headlines from these countries to see how they're doing under communist rule. From todaycuba.com, Cuba launches widespread rationing in face of crisis. The Washington Post writes, North Korea's economy is ravaged by sanctions and pandemic isolation. Kim is lashing out. At the Digital Journal, Vietnam jails citizen journalists for abusing democratic rights. From BBC News, FIFA fines Laos for using African child players. Finally, from NBC News, new details of torture, cover-ups in China's internment camps revealed in Amnesty International report. So to me, it doesn't look like these countries are doing too well, for itself or for their people. To conclude, I find this topic to be important and worth my time to research and pass out to all of you. I think it's imperative to understand the dangerous ideologies, and we know how to combat them with better ideologies. As I said in my last video, if you want to live under communism and have no property rights, I will help you pack your bags, and we can trade you to a communist country to someone who loves America and wants the freedom that we offer. Do not make Americans suffer and destroy the country we love just because you hate it, or you hate yourself, or you can't stand to admit that maybe the problem is you and your ideology. And hey, maybe I'm wrong too. Let's civilly discuss it in the comments. If you like the progress and the videos I'm making, please give it a thumbs up. Finally, if you think the information I share is important in today's society, please share this video so we can help spread the truth. I'll see you all next time.